Mom. My daughter Sarah, who hadn't contacted me for over 6 months, suddenly called. And it was already past 8 p.m. I could understand if it was during the day, but it was extremely rare for Sarah, who now had her own family, to call this late at night. I instantly knew something serious must have happened. Sarah. What's going on, calling at this hour? What happened? Sarah didn't answer at first. I could only hear a faint, wheezing sound on the other end of the line. Mom. In a weak, strained voice, Sarah finally spoke. Sarah. What's wrong? Are you really okay? Mom. Help me. Sensing something was very wrong, I pressed the speakerphone button. My husband John quickly rushed over, listening intently. Sarah, pull yourself together. What happened? I feel weak. I haven't eaten anything. I might not make it. You haven't eaten? What do you mean? They won't let me eat. My mother-in-law and her family, they won't give me anything. The image of Sarah, crawling on the floor, desperately reaching out for help, flashed in my mind. Sarah's in danger if we don't act now. John shouted, grabbed the car keys, and headed for the door. We're coming to get you right now. I yelled into the phone and hurried after my husband. My name is Mary Anderson, and I'm 70 years old. My husband John and I currently run a sushi restaurant together. When John was younger, he trained at a famous sushi restaurant, so he's known for his skills. John and I met through a relative, and after we got married, he opened his own restaurant. Besides his skills, John's friendly demeanor and engaging conversation have earned us many regular customers. I've been helping at the restaurant for almost 30 years now, but lately, I've started to feel my body slowing down. Maybe it's my age, but even a little movement makes my back ache these days. John suggested hiring some help, but while I appreciate his concern, I worry about the costs, so I plan to keep working as long as I can. Sometimes, John jokingly says, "It would have been great if she were here to help us now." And grumbles. He's referring to our only daughter, Sarah. She has her own family now, so we can't ask her to come back and help at the restaurant. Sarah currently lives about an hour away from us in the neighboring town, at her in-laws' place. She lives with her husband Tom, their son Kevin, and her MIL Susan. Recently, her sister-in-law Amy has joined them. I don't know all the details, but I heard Amy moved back in after her divorce. I had hoped that after Sarah graduated from college, she would help out at our restaurant. But Sarah said she wanted to see more of the world and left home. She then got a job at a major department store and started working in the women's clothing section. Though she was new to the job, Sarah quickly won over customers with her charm and cheerful nature. It was at that department store where she met Tom Harris, who would later become her husband. Tom was in the external sales department, catering to wealthy clients purchasing high-end products, and he was considered a star in the company. When Sarah first introduced Tom to us, I felt a twinge of concern. Marrying such a perfect man, is she really going to be okay? In fact, Tom had a handsome face and a charming way of speaking that appealed to women, and many customers came just to see him. Still, Sarah calmly said, "It's okay, Mom. Don't worry. I trust him." After that, Sarah married Tom, quit her job at the department store, and chose to dedicate herself to supporting him as a full-time housewife. The next year, their first son Kevin was born, and I felt relieved and joyful to have a grandchild. Despite everything, it seems those two are doing just fine. For a while, my daughter and her family lived in an apartment. But 5 years ago, after Tom's father passed away, they decided to move in with his elderly mother, as she would be lonely living alone. Sarah calls us from time to time. Recently, Sarah has been lamenting that Tom is rarely at home. Tom said he worked late yesterday and ended up staying at a junior colleague's apartment. This has been happening a lot lately. Even on weekends, he's away for business golf. Still, Sarah laughed over the phone, saying, "I guess it's just part of being a working adult." She laughed over the phone. One day, I called Sarah after a long time. Kevin's birthday is coming up soon, right? Do you have any plans for the day? Nothing special during the day. Why do you ask? Perfect. Our restaurant is closed that day, so why don't the three of us take Kevin somewhere fun? Maybe an amusement park or an aquarium, someplace he'll love. That sounds great. Tom has been so busy with work lately that he hardly comes home, so Kevin's been bored without anyone to take him out. Sarah sounded excited over the phone, too. Then, as Kevin's birthday approached, Sarah called me. I'm sorry, Mom. It's hard to say, but plans have come up since then. I can't go out with you. I'm really sorry. What kind of plans came up? The kids' club is throwing a birthday party. So, I can't make it that day. The kids' club, huh? Can't really turn that down. I felt a bit disappointed but decided to shift my mindset. It doesn't have to be on Kevin's birthday. I'm free whenever, so just let me know a day that works for you. I'm sorry, Mom, but it looks like we won't be able to go anywhere for a while. Next week is the kids' nature camp, and the week after that, swim lessons start. It's just really busy right now. Kids these days sure have a lot on their plates. It's a shame, but I guess we'll have to have a rain check. I had been so excited to finally see my grandson again, so I was very disappointed. I asked a regular customer, who's raising kids now, about what kind of games are popular with elementary schoolers these days. And I sent one to Kevin. Mom, the present arrived. Thank you. Sarah called to thank me. But there was something off about her voice, the voice I knew so well. Maybe it was just a mother's intuition, but Sarah, who is usually so bright and cheerful. There was something dark and gloomy about her that day. What's wrong? You seem a bit tired today. Oh, nothing. I'm as cheerful as always. Is that so? Well, if you say so. Anyway, thanks for the game. About that. I'm not too familiar with what kids like these days, so I sent what someone recommended. Did Kevin like it? Of course. He was really happy, saying, Grandma always knows best. For some reason, Sarah seemed eager to end the call quickly. Almost as if she didn't want the conversation to continue. Are you guys doing okay? Why do you ask all of a sudden? We're fine, really. So don't worry, Mom. You mentioned recently that Tom's been coming home late. Has anything changed since then? You worry too much. I told you not to stress about it. Forget I even mentioned it. Besides, phone calls aren't free, and you're busy with the restaurant, right? Wait a minute. I'm more concerned about you right now. I was about to say, but Sarah hung up before I could finish. I was just asking about her, so why did she seem so intent on avoiding me? It felt like she was trying to hide something about her life, dodging my questions. She abruptly ended the conversation. Something doesn't feel right. I felt a sense of unease. Every day, after the restaurant closes, John and I usually unwind with a quiet drink in the living room. That night, as usual, we were relaxing and talking about our day. It's about Sarah. She seemed off. Tired, or maybe just feeling blue. I'm not sure exactly. You talk on the phone with her sometimes, right? I just talked to her today. But she hung up on me abruptly. Are you saying she's pushing you away? Not pushing me away, not exactly. I think she just doesn't want me to worry. It's just a gut feeling, but I feel like Sarah's hiding something from me. John crossed his arms and fell silent for a moment. Maybe it has something to do with that incident. What incident? John hesitated, then seemed to make up his mind. One of our regulars mentioned something that's been bothering me. It's about Tom. What about Tom? That customer said they saw Tom leaving a bar with a woman who wasn't Sarah. No way. Tom would never do something like that. Apparently, she wasn't that young, but very beautiful. And she was dressed in flashy, expensive-looking brand clothes. It's probably just someone who looked similar to Tom. I said to defend Tom. Well, maybe not to defend Tom. But more because I didn't want to cause any problems in Sarah and Tom's marriage. Of course, that customer didn't get a clear look. They just said he looked like Tom. I don't want to blindly believe what the customers saw. Still, it's also true that Tom has been coming home late recently. And that he's been going out more on weekends too. Maybe, without us knowing, Tom is seeing another woman. Without any concrete information, my thoughts were drifting to the worst-case scenario. I'm worried about Sarah. She'd never admit it if something was wrong. If she knows about this and is struggling with it. Don't let your mind go to the worst so easily. I'll see what I can do too. We have a regular customer who's a lawyer, I think I'll talk to them. Ever since then, I've been worried about Sarah every day. To the point where I've even dropped and broken dishes while washing them. What's wrong? Are you sure you're not the one who's exhausted? I stopped my work and tried calling Sarah multiple times. But she rarely answered. Occasionally, she'd remember to give me a quick update, saying, "I'm fine." But it was always so brief it was almost shocking. Whenever I tried to ask more about her family, she'd laugh it off and quickly end the call. Each time I heard Sarah's voice over the phone, it sounded weaker, almost as if she might fade away. Remembering Sarah's once lively and beloved smile before she got married. I felt crushed by growing anxiety, and tears welled up in my eyes. About 6 months later, I suddenly received a call from Sarah, after months of no contact. And it was already past 8 p.m. It was extremely rare for Sarah, who now had her own family, to call this late at night. I instantly knew something serious must have happened. "Sarah, what's wrong? Why are you calling at this hour? What happened?" Sarah didn't answer. All I could hear from the other end of the line was a faint, wheezing sound, like air escaping. Still, I was sure it was Sarah on the phone. "Is there no one else around? Are you alone there?" I thought so because I couldn't hear any background chatter. "Mom." In a strained, weak voice, Sarah finally spoke. "Sarah, what's wrong? Are you really okay? Mom, help me." Realizing something was terribly wrong, I pressed the speakerphone button. John quickly rushed over to me, listening intently. "Sarah, stay strong. Tell your mom what's going on. I feel so weak. I haven't eaten anything. I might not make it." "You haven't eaten? What do you mean?" "They won't let me eat. My mother-in-law and her family, they won't give me anything to eat." The image of Sarah crawling on the floor, desperately reaching out for help, flashed in my mind. Sarah's in danger if we don't act now. John shouted, grabbed the car keys, and headed for the door. "We're coming to get you right now." I yelled into the phone and hurried after my husband. During the drive, we stayed completely silent. John kept his mouth shut, gripping the steering wheel tightly. His brows were furrowed, and a vein throbbed on his forehead. The uncertainty of the situation filled him with an indescribable anxiety. And the thought that our beloved only daughter might be suffering unjustly fueled a deep anger within him. If I looked into the mirror, I'm sure I'd see the same expression on my face as well. I fought back the urge to cry and closed my eyes. And Sarah's innocent, childlike smile came to mind. A pure-hearted little girl, unaware of the world's evils, reaching out to John and me with all her might. Trying to share her happiness, a memory that now filled me with frustration and sorrow. Sarah was reaching out for help. Thinking about that made me feel ashamed that we hadn't noticed her suffering until now. From the sound of her voice on the phone, I could tell Sarah was in a severely weakened state, even without seeing her. The vibrant Sarah, who once radiated energy and smiles, now begging for help in such a frail voice, was something I couldn't believe. As I gazed out at the dark townscape from the passenger seat, I sighed. This must be a nightmare. I'm just having a bad dream. As we drove through the quiet residential area, seeing the warm lights from the houses, I could almost hear the laughter of the families inside. And I thought that should have been the life Sarah and I had, which brought more sadness to me. What would normally be a 1-hour drive during the day took less time since rush hour had passed. And soon enough, we arrived at the Harris house. Are you okay? I can go in alone if you want. John spoke gently, trying to reassure me, but this was a matter for our family. I steeled myself for whatever reality awaited us. We will save Sarah together, no matter what. When we rang the doorbell, after a brief pause, a carefree voice came from inside. Hello? Who could it be at this hour? In stark contrast to Sarah's urgent call. We were taken aback by Tom's calm, relaxed tone, which lacked any sense of urgency. It's Anderson. I'm Sarah's mother. When I introduced myself, Tom fell silent, perhaps out of caution, and then slowly said, Is there something wrong? He cracked the door open slightly and peeked out at us. Sorry for the late visit, Tom. I hate to barge in like this, but we have something important to discuss. John wedged his foot in the slightly open door and then pushed it wide open. Father, what are you doing? We're coming in. Without waiting for permission, we marched into the house with determination. When we reached the end of the hallway, standing in front of a small, unlit room, I asked. Sarah's in here, isn't she? I can't explain why, but somehow I just knew Sarah was in that room. Without hesitation, we knew our daughter was here, calling out to us for help. This is beyond outrageous. Even if you're Sarah's parents, I'll call the police. That would be perfect. Let's have the police here as witnesses. John didn't hesitate as he forcefully slid the door open. There was Sarah, curled up on the floor like a discarded, worn-out rag. It took a few seconds for my brain to realize that this was our daughter. Because she was so emaciated, so tragically changed, it was unbearable to see. Sarah. Oh, what on earth has happened to you? We let out a silent scream and rushed to Sarah, lifting her frail, immobile body. Mom, help me, it hurts. I can't anymore. Struggling to breathe, Sarah barely managed to say those words. It was clear she was delirious, slurring her words, and severely dehydrated. Who do you think you are? Get out of here right now. Tom tried to dismiss us like we were intruders. But his voice lacked any real strength. His gaze darted around, as if frightened, and his entire body was trembling. Tom, just get some water, now. I can't just. Stop arguing and bring it now. Intimidated by my harsh tone, Tom ran to the kitchen. And quickly returned with a bottle of water from the fridge. I snatched it from him, opened it, and tried to pour some water into Sarah's dry mouth. Here, Sarah. Drink this. Hearing the commotion, Susan and Amy also came over. What's all this racket? It's so loud we can't hear the TV. We're the ones who need an explanation here. As John angrily confronted Tom, demanding answers, Tom dropped to his knees. I'm so sorry. Then Tom began explaining how Sarah ended up like this. And what he told us was beyond anything we could have imagined. When Sarah and Tom started living with his mother Susan, things seemed to go well at first. But at some point, Tom started coming home late from work. And around the same time, Susan's attitude towards Sarah suddenly became cold. One day, worried about Tom's late returns, Sarah confided in Susan. But instead of helping, Susan blamed Sarah for Tom not coming home. Sarah couldn't understand why she was being blamed, as she had no idea what she could have done wrong. Susan cruelly told her, it's because you never got your figure back after having Kevin. She was told this unreasonable thing by Susan. From that point on, Susan forced all the household chores onto Sarah. And even imposed strict food restrictions on her. Despite everything, Sarah tried to stay cheerful, brushing off Susan's unreasonable demands. But it seems Susan found this resilience infuriating. The harassment escalated further, and under the pretext of preventing unnecessary spending, Susan began to take control of all of Sarah's finances. Then Amy, Tom's younger sister who had returned home after a divorce, joined in, thinking it was fun. Susan started to leave Sarah under Amy's watch whenever she couldn't keep an eye on her herself. The hardest part for Sarah was being unable to take care of Kevin, her own child. Living under the same roof, she couldn't even raise the child she had carried and given birth to. There's nothing more painful or sad than not being able to raise your own child. Susan unilaterally forbade Sarah from even seeing Kevin. And if she tried to get even a step closer to his room, Amy would immediately stop her. While Sarah was forced to clean the bathroom or toilets as a punishment, Susan was having a wonderful time with Kevin. "That's all I know," Tom said, collapsing weakly to his knees. "Don't you dare speak of our family's disgrace so casually."
Yeah.
"I can't believe you'd blab about such nonsense to an outsider. You've really lost your nerve, brother. That's not all, is it? You're still hiding something, aren't you?" Tom momentarily looked up with a puzzled huh and an anxious expression on his face. Just then, we heard the sound of a taxi pulling up and someone getting out at the entrance. It seems they've arrived. The three members of the Harris family looked completely baffled by the situation. Soon, a tall, slender man in his 50s appeared, and Tom's face instantly turned pale. "Judging by your reaction, it seems you recognize this gentleman?" Tom said nothing, but he seemed to realize that there was no way out of this. He didn't even glance in our direction, simply waiting for time to pass. "Good evening. My name is Johnson Smith, an actor. I believe this is my first time meeting the Harris family in person." Johnson Smith said this as he looked at each member of the Harris family. In his youth, Johnson Smith was a popular actor known for his roles in movies and TV dramas. However, as he aged, his popularity waned. And now, he was more of a familiar name than an active star. "Why is Johnson Smith at our house?" Susan, speaking for the Harris family, asked, but her smile was forced, and her voice was shaky. It was obvious to anyone that she was clearly disturbed. "I'm the one who asked Mr. Smith to come. I contacted a lawyer I know before coming here, and I also asked Mr. Smith to join us. What on earth could Mr. Smith have to do with us?" Susan tried to play innocent, but I just smiled slyly. "Don't pretend you know nothing. Deep down, you all must have some idea why Mr. Smith is here." Just then, the lawyer arrived, a bit late. "Sorry I'm late. I was organizing some other documents, and it took a little longer than expected." With the lawyer's arrival, the Harris family fell silent. "Actually, I was hired by Mrs. Anderson and have been investigating Tom for the past 6 months. As a result, we found that Tom has been frequently meeting with a certain woman. The woman in question is a wealthy client Tom handles at the department store, and during our investigation, we uncovered an even more shocking fact. That woman happens to be my wife, Emily Collins." Johnson Smith added to the lawyer's explanation in a calm tone. "When my wife asked for a divorce, I was surprised, but a part of me thought, of course. She had been sneaking out behind my back for some time. After speaking with the lawyer here, everything made sense. So, I wanted to come today to hear directly from Mr. Harris, as he is one of the involved parties." Tom slowly stood up. As if his spirit had left him, Tom began to speak in a faint voice, confessing everything. "As mentioned earlier, Emily and I met as a major client and a store employee at the department store. Over the years, as I visited her home for work, our relationship changed. At first, I thought it was just a fling, but when we found out Emily was pregnant, we realized there was no turning back. So, we decided to leave our spouses and remarry. I am truly sorry." At the feet of Johnson Smith, who was standing tall, Tom dropped to his knees. "When I was a popular actor, showered with attention, Emily used to give me her brightest smiles. But now that my work has dwindled. Then she met someone like you, a handsome man, and I guess she couldn't resist. She's the type who has to have whatever catches her fancy." Johnson Smith said this with a weak laugh. Although Tom wanted to divorce Sarah, Since he was the one having an affair, he knew he'd be liable for alimony. He couldn't just ask for a divorce easily. So, Tom decided to rely on his mother, Susan, for help. At first, Susan was against the divorce, saying it would look bad. But when she learned the other woman was wealthy, her attitude changed, and she actively supported the idea. Susan figured that if Sarah, the daughter-in-law, was the one to ask for a divorce, there would be no need to pay alimony, so she continuously harassed Sarah. She made life unbearable for Sarah, pushing her to the point where she'd want to leave the house. "I trusted you." Despite being unsteady, Sarah managed to stand firmly on her 2 feet. Overwhelmed by the anguish of being deceived by her in-laws, she burst into loud sobs. "I believed that if I just lost weight, Tom would come back to me. That's why I endured all the unreasonable things from Susan and Amy. But it was all just a plan to get rid of me. It's okay, now. You did nothing wrong. You don't have to push yourself anymore." I hugged my daughter tightly. It's true that I wanted to divorce Sarah. But I never imagined that Mom and Amy would go this far in treating her so horribly. Even I'm shocked. Hold on a second. I only helped to drive Sarah out of this house for your sake. It's your fault for having the affair in the first place. Exactly. You just stood by and watched us do all this, pretending not to see anything. Don't act like you didn't know now. As I watched the 3 of them hurl insults at each other, I was left speechless. While beside me, Sarah was trembling with anger. Enough. If you really wanted me out of here that badly, then I'll leave just as you wanted. Oh, is that so? Well, that would be helpful. Don't get too happy, Susan. I will never forgive you. When I get divorced, I'll make sure to demand a hefty alimony from you. With that, Sarah raised her voice, loud enough to echo through the house. Kevin. Where are you? Come here. From now on, you'll be living with Mommy at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Okay, got it. Kevin came running down the stairs from his room on the 2nd floor and hugged Sarah. After that, Tom's affair with his client was exposed. And he was fired from his job for severely damaging the company's image. As promised, Sarah filed for divorce and demanded a substantial alimony from Tom. After losing his job and being forced to pay alimony, Tom had a huge fight with Susan and Amy, which ended with him reluctantly giving up the house. Naturally, Sarah's anger didn't stop there. And she then filed claims against Susan and Amy for the mental and physical anguish they had caused her. Despite the continuous harassment from Susan and Amy, Sarah had kept detailed notes of everything that happened, just in case, which worked to her advantage in court. Back at her parents' home, Sarah gradually recovered both mentally and physically, returning to her former cheerful self. There were various complications with the Harris family after that, but thanks to a skilled lawyer, everything was resolved. By the way, I heard through the grapevine that Tom and Emily did eventually have a child. After losing his job and the house, Tom was barely getting by, thanks to Emily's financial support. But having lost all motivation to work, Tom gradually became more and more disheveled. To make matters worse, Susan, who was old, and the nagging Amy also tagged along. Naturally, someone like Emily, who was raised in luxury, couldn't tolerate it. And so she took her child and left the house. What happened to the 3 of them after being abandoned by the wealthy Emily? I don't know, nor do I care to know. All right. I've been slacking off too much, so I need to get back to work starting today. With that determination, Sarah started stepping in to help out at our restaurant instead of me, as I was struggling with back pain. Having worked in customer service at a major department store, Sarah quickly gained a reputation in the local area. And our restaurant soon became so popular that there was a long line of customers outside every day. Now that we have a new star at the restaurant, I feel like my work here is done. I've stepped back from the restaurant and now spend as much time as possible watching over Kevin. Kevin is about to enter middle school, but at his elementary school graduation, he proudly declared, I want to be a cool sushi chef like my grandpa when I grow up. Which brought both me and Jack to tears. Now, we can't wait to see what the future holds for Kevin.